Now, the Bipartisan Committee has agreed on issues that will constitute the terms of reference for the committee, setting the ball rolling on the talks that had stalled due to hardline positions taken by both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. The committee also reached a compromise on the period within which minor issues will be handled and when the more complex ones will be handled as well, with the team expected to have finalized its report within 60 days. So our own Chemtai Going reports Thursday's session is set to discuss the most crucial issue. Will the talks be intra or extra parliamentary, or will the committee formation require a stamp of approval from the executive through a gazette notice?
At last on the issues and hardline positions taken by both Azimio la Umoja One Kenya and Kenya Kwanza coalitions that had threatened to derail talks under the Bipartisan Committee were water under a bridge. Members today setting in motion the development of the framework agreement that outlines the terms of reference for the committee.
We also have today our joint secretaries, Dr. Mutuma Thiankolu and Paul Mwangi, so we are getting constituted.
While Azimio had issued a 30-day timeline for the conclusion of talks, their Kenya Kwanza counterparts sought 90 days. The two have now reached a consensus over the matter.
We have agreed to constrain that time to 60 days. But within those 60 days, we have agreed that the more urgent issues that need to be dealt with will have been dealt with within 30 days.
But what is perhaps the next headache for the team will be the format within which the talks will be formalized. Azimio appear to be keen on having the talks held outside Parliament, while Kenya Kwanza, on the other hand, was keen on a parliamentary route, which would then require that a notice of motion is tabled in Parliament for approval.
But the next issue we are exploring, which we'll discuss again tomorrow in detail, is the executive route, where you use an executive order to constitute the team. The third route is what we call the sui generis route, where we talk of exercise of sovereignty under Article 1, where you do not need to be formally constituted, provided there's political goodwill.
Topping the list of issues tabled by Azimio for discussion is the country's pet subject, the cost of living. They also want the server opened for a forensic audit of the 2022 presidential election results. They also want restructuring of the polls body IEBC, limiting of interference with political parties, where they accuse Kenya Kwanza of coercing members elected under the Azimio bandwagon to switch allegiance, and
outstanding constitutional matters, including governance issues, effective checks and balances, and the question of boundaries delimitation.
Kenya Kwanza, on their part, listed 3 issues contained in President William Ruto's memorandum to Parliament, including entrenching in law of the office of the Leader of Official Opposition, measures to deal with insecurity and probable action on perpetrators, legal framework to give effect to Article 37 of the Constitution to regulate conduct of demonstrations, and also review policy to safeguard state institutions from state capture, and also
electoral reforms to ensure closure of the electoral outcomes for post-election peace and national stability.
The team also dismissed earlier attempts by the Kanini Kega-led faction of the Jubilee Party to stop the talks, protesting the lack of inclusion of a Jubilee Party member following the replacement of Adan Kainan. The committee, referring Kanini Kega to the Azimio leadership since Jubilee is still a member of the Azimio family. With Azimio having challenged President William Ruto's 2022 presidential victory, going the executive route may not be in play. And with Parliament and the political machinations that are bound to play out if a notice of motion is brought out, these two may pose a challenge. The big question is, will political goodwill be the route that will be taken by the leadership in order for the bipartisan talks to kick off? Chemtai Going, Citizen TV.